our physiology controls our psychology. And our psychology can control our physiology. And so if you had another chance to bring more energy to your life, to your world, to your outcomes, what would you do? If you guys could control your life and could control your bodies and control your thoughts, would you move your bodies differently in life? What stops us? Question number one, what stops us? Fear. What stops us is fear, other people's opinion, the past, limiting beliefs, what else? Life's pretty good when you step out of the known and you go into the unknown. How many people here were like telling their friends, how many people didn't tell their friends they were coming to Medellin? They're like, I'm not going to Medellin. Like, why would we tell them? They're like, what are you gonna do over there? Is it safe? How many people, the first thing out of their mouth was like, is it safe? Oh yeah. Anybody not have that reaction? Vic, is it safe there? No, you should stay. And imagine what you would have missed out of if you didn't step into the unknown. So when we move our bodies, it allows us to change our psychology. The physiology can push us into a new psychology, right? And so when we move our bodies, when you guys go back to the real world, because this isn't the real world, this is our first private mastermind group. So when you leave here and you guys go back, you're gonna have what? You're gonna have an experience. And that experience is going to change your physiology and your psychology, and it's your choice to not let the past continue to control you. Now, the reason why we have two fears, right? We have two fears, right? And this comes from when we were cavemen and cavewomen. The first fear is that we will not be enough, okay? We will not be enough. Anybody ever had that fear before? Anybody still kind of have that fear? What are your thoughts, right? So like you're going through it and you're like, oh man, I did this. I did everything that I was supposed to do as well as I could, but it's still not selling. What are your actual thoughts? Sellers calling you, Shoot, what's up, bro? You said you're gonna get my house sold. You said you're gonna do X, Y, Z. You said ABC, da 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 da. What goes through your head? Let's say you did everything you could. You did everything you could. Seller calls you, right? Because when we think we're not enough, there's a fear that's attached to that, right? So if we think we're not enough, we're attaching a fear, a future reality that doesn't exist. And the future reality is that I'm gonna get fired. The future reality is that I'm not going to make any money. Future reality is I'm a wash up, right? I don't have it anymore, right? The future reality is I'm not good enough. If they fire you or the contract expires, what happens? What's the worst thing that could happen if the contract expired?
You don't get paid.
Right, but aren't you supposed to hit the phones anyways every day? Isn't that so? So really that doesn't matter because that's what you're already doing. You don't have the money. So if you were counting your chips before they were off the table and you were relying on that money, that's not a good thing. Some of us are counting our chips too soon. But the feelings that we have around a listing not selling, for some of us, it's that perfectionism, right? That stem from our parents or stem from a childhood memory, right? That if you don't do I don't know if you guys grew up in an Indian household, but let me tell you, an A was why isn't an A plus. B is why wasn't an A. An A minus wasn't why wasn't an A. A C was like, oh shit, fuck. And then you just start giving up. Because after a while, like some kids, they just stop caring. They just like, I just care anymore. Comparison, comparing you to other people, right? Parents don't do it on purpose, they're trying to help, right? But do you see how like when we start having those feelings of I'm not enough, they typically start from something that is very logical, but then do you see how it can instantly go down a pathway to a very deep thought around who you are, worthiness of a human. And who determines our worthiness? The heart in your body that's still beating, that's connected to source. The second fear that we have is I'm not gonna be loved. And oftentimes, so that's right there on the bottom of the page, oftentimes, right, what happens is if we don't sell the house, we think that something bad's gonna happen, detrimental. We're not gonna have enough money. If we don't have enough money, what happens? I'm not enough. If I'm not enough, I'm not gonna be loved. If I'm not loved because I'm not enough, then that fear comes from the cave of being shut out and the saber-toothed lion are freezing at night and dying. These are survival instincts. Fear is a survival instinct. The unfortunate part of fear, though, is that as much as it helps us survive, it also helps us die. How many of you guys spend more time in fear than you do in gratitude? How many of us spend more time in fear or anger than we do in gratitude? How many people get cut off, right? Like you got cut off by a car. The car didn't cut you off. The car cut off who? The car behind it. You just happen to be the one driving it. And you start screaming like a wild, crazy human at the car in front of you. Oh my God, what a. These are even words that I don't set for after 5 p.m. And we all of a sudden start to scream at the person in front of us that has no idea who we are. And we think that we're so important that that person went out of their day, they woke up at 7 a.m. and they're like, I'm gonna cut Diane off. I'm gonna cut off Fiorio. Blah, 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 blah. They don't know who you are. They didn't even see your face. And yet you lost your cool and you changed your physiology. But I want you guys to see, when you guys get cut off and you get mad and you're having a lousy day and you're tired, how much energy do you have? Oh my God, that blah, 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 blah. How much energy did you just create in an instant? A lot. But you all say, I'm tired to make my call. That's so much work to go through the buyer consult. We did all the work. You just got to read it a couple of times. Like, shit, you know how many days it took? Years, months practicing, perfecting, writing it, documenting it, recording it. And then you guys have all this energy to use when somebody cuts you off. Or heaven forbid your Starbucks came out with a little, it was supposed to be almond milk and they gave me regular milk. And you get all upset and your whole day's ruined. Your whole day's ruined because the almond latte came out with oat milk. How dare they? And you go into a frenzy and your whole psychology changes. And where do we spend most of our lives? What emotional state? Write it down. Where do you spend most of your time? What emotional state do you spend most of your time in each day? What determines and controls the quality of our lives? What was that one thing that we started at the beginning of the day with? Our thoughts. So when you spend most of your time in that emotional state, what's controlling the quality of your life? A good thought or a bad thought? So being in that negative state, right, how does that affect your life? Your decisions, your relationships. We have a sales guy on our team, right? I don't really like him, but he's our only sales guy on our team, right? And he stays on our team despite his inability to control his thoughts and emotions, which then impacts my thoughts and emotions. And this morning at 6 o'clock, I sent him a Slack because he did not responding to my questions. And I'm in the shower right before we're getting ready for this, and I'm thinking about him. Thoughts are not intrusive, they're invaders. And I had to remind myself that he doesn't matter, right? Because what matters? Because if I go down that rabbit hole of thoughts about all the things that I don't like about him, it's not that I don't like him as a person, just don't like how he operates in business. Just not my style, not my culture, not my team fit. Cody and I have talked about it. This circle of trust, right? We openly share our playbooks, spiritually, emotionally, business, finances, personal relationships. The quicker you guys get into your hearts and open up and stop talking about work and shit that doesn't really fucking matter, the faster we're gonna have a breakthrough. You guys dropping into getting more into what matters to you, right? The faster you guys get there, the faster we get to where you wanna go. So when you guys are in a poor state, how does that affect everything in your life? Your relationships, your business. You're either a victim of your circumstances or you're a victor. We all have a choice, right? We all have a choice. Are you gonna be a victim or are you gonna be a victor? Both are acceptable, but when you choose to be a victim, what happens to your life? All the cool stuff that you guys learned with Cody, if you're a victim, what does that mean to you? You don't win. You don't what? You don't move forward. And so much of our life, 80, 90% of our life isn't the skills and the tactics. It's what we allow ourselves to believe. Oh, Taylor's gonna do 37 deals this year with a full-time job and a baby? Oh, he's special. Taylor, are you special?
Yes.
You are special. We're all special. But I want you guys to realize that we should celebrate when somebody says, are you special? And he says, I am special. Damn straight, because we are special and he is special. I want more from my life. He can't allow the anxiousness and the fear and the past traumas and you guys, if you watch everybody in the room and you look at everybody else's faces when we say stuff, you're all bouncing your heads, yes, which means you have all had those thoughts and feelings. 80, 90% of our life is not this. Yes, there's certain people in the world that we all know. We all have a friend that's doing super crazy awesome, 10x better, 100x better, 1000x better. Yes, they have more of this stuff, the tactics, the hard skills, but they also know how to compartmentalize, because the more money you have, more money, more problem. No, more money, more people's opinions of you, right? Whether you like him or not, Donald Trump has a lot of resilience. Like, think about us. If we had people attacking us at every single point, and he gets up every day, how big do you think his vision and why is? Might not agree with it. I'm just saying, study the person's patterns, because everything is what? Pattern recognition. And we let our emotions, oh, I don't like him, so I'm not gonna learn from him. That's crazy. Why would you not? That's a book walking. It's a living documentary right there that we can all study from. And we let our emotions get in the way of our feelings. And then our feelings take over, and what do we say? I'm not talking to you people. You're not like me, so we're not gonna be friends. What? I want those people in my life. Why? Because those are the people that give you balance. And yet so much of our life we control with our physiology and our psychology, and we leave it unchecked. We have 6 human needs, all right? Right out of Tony Robbins' playbook. The first human need that everybody has is a need for certainty, right? You might not be living there, but we all have it. We all have these needs at some point. And I can prove you guys all wrong. Do we all have a certainty that we want a certain amount of money in our bank account every day? Yeah, because that provides security. The second human need, right? The need for change, surprise, and new experiences. Stimulates excitement, prevents boredom. Without variety, life could feel meaningless and dull. Second human need is uncertainty/variety. Like the opposite of granola, variety. Turmeric and curcumin and, curry powder, the good stuff, yeah, the good stuff. The third, the need to feel important, valued, unique, build self-worth, recognition, and achievement. If I matter, then I have a reason to keep going. Significance. I'd say a lot of realtors are trying to fit in this world of significance. The need to feel close, bonded, and supported by others creates belonging, intimacy, and trust. Without love and connection, life feels empty. Fourth human need is what? Love and connection. So you could put a star by those 4. Those are your 4 basic needs, or Maslow's hierarchy. That's the bottom, right? That's the bottom. Those are the fundamentals. If we don't have a variety, if we don't have a little bit of certainty, if we don't have a little bit of love and connection, if we don't have a little bit of significance, we're not going to achieve the higher ones. The need to develop, expand, and improve fuels progress, learning, and fulfillment. If I'm not growing, I feel like dying. Growth is this 5th human need, right? But you can't grow when you're feeling uncertain about where your next paycheck's gonna come from, right? And so if we go back to Mashoud's example, well, I don't feel enough, I'm not certain about the future. Is he growing or is he stagnant at that moment? He's stagnant. Why? Because he's thinking about what if all these things happen. The 6th one is the need to give and serve beyond oneself, creates impact, meaning, and legacy. My life matters only when I'm helping other people. Contribution. Now, a lot of us want to live in one or the other at all times, but we live in all of them, right? But there are human needs that fit us more at one time versus the other. Would you guys agree? So like, if you have a lot of money and you're feeling very secure and you decide to go and rent a yacht in the south of France and bring 50 of your friends over and pay for it all, what are you looking for? So if you have a lot of certainty, what could that be? Connection. What else could it be? Significance. What else could it be? Contribution, possibly. Well, what else could it be? Variety, uncertainty, right? Maybe it's growth. Like, I've always wanted to do this, so I'm going to grow past my comfort zone, right? But we don't know unless we know the context of the person, right? And so when you guys tell me that, well, I'm just going to read the room, I'm like, oh, so you guys are psychologists now, eh? We don't want to learn the buyer consultation, but now we're psychologists and we can read somebody that we just met when we just realized that sometimes people get cut off and they completely lose their cool because the car in front of them that had nothing to do with them cut them off because they had an upset stomach because they had Indian food for lunch. And they're like, I need a toilet. And they cut you off by accident. And now you've lost your cool. And yet so much of the world revolves around 5-minute interactions. And so when we think about our human needs, right? Certainty, variety, significance, depends on where you're at in life, right? As we talk about seasons, right? There's seasons in life. There's winter, spring, right? There's fall, there's summer. In winter, what are we doing? We're hibernating, we're resting, we're tilling the soil, right? For those of you who have farm in your blood, right? The winter is where we prep for the spring. And the spring, what do? Plant the seeds, right? And then we start to take care of the seeds. Why? Because we know in the summer we're gonna harvest, cultivate. And then the fall, it's just what? Reaping the rewards of the world. Some of us are gonna go into winter. Some of us are in winter. Some of us are in winter right now. Oh my God, I'm in a resting stage. I'm tilling the land. Holy shit, what's going on? I have no idea. Some of us are in the spring. We're starting over again, right? We're retilling, we're replanting, we're getting the seedlings up. Some of us are in summer, right? We're now harvesting. Some of us are in the fall. We're reaping the benefit of years of hard work, waking up early, doing the things, and now we're reaping the rewards of that. The question is how long does each season last? Well, it depends, because it comes back to what? Our human needs. Where are we at in the chart? What are the meanings that we associate with what's going on? So when we want variety, are we going to try more things? If we want variety, are we trying more things? If we want certainty, are we stuck? I only work with these types of people. I only go to this place. I only do these types of things. So when we figure out where we're at right now, because I'm going to have you guys figure out where you're currently at, then you can figure out how do we get to growth and contribution. Because until your basic needs are met, until you understand where you're at, how you approach the world, how you think about things, do I want certainty? Do I want variety? Like, is moving to a new country, Michelle, is that certainty or variety? Variety, yeah. Maybe a little bit of growth? Yeah. But could you move there if you were concerned about like everything being easy and the same? Yeah, like if you wanted everything to always be easy and the same, would you be able to move to a foreign country, right? Do people, when they're in a world of certainty, right? When people are in a world of certainty, do they take financial risks? No. But all growth happens when we do what? Step into the unknown. Now, I don't want anybody here to take a risk. I don't want any of you guys here to take a risk. I want you guys to take calculated risks, right? I want you guys to think about what you do before you do it, all right? Now, if we're trying to get love and connection, right? If one of our highest needs is love and connection, what do we do? What are some of the attributes and traits of somebody whose highest needs are love and connection? Check in. Hey man, I was just calling to check in, see how you're doing. Haven't talked to you in a while. So you're willing to share more stuff that's vulnerable. You guys do know that authenticity vibrates at the highest frequency, even more than love, by like hundreds and hundreds and thousands on the scales. Authenticity is the highest form of human interaction. When you live an authentic life, how do you feel? Clean. When you become conscious of your thoughts and the words that people use, and you actually pay attention to them, all of a sudden you realize that, oh shit, maybe I had a part to play. And do you see how relationships shift when we shift? You don't ask the world to change, you change and the world changes. You don't ask me to become better, you become better, and what happens? You see the world in a different lens. And if you see the world in a different lens, what used to trigger you before now isn't suffering. It's just is what it is.